This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life. I got the meaning, and I got to write it down, because I don't want to forget it.
Just win, baby.
And welcome back to the Gold Jacket Podcast, proudly sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has it all: daily, weekly, and season-long best ball tournaments that are literally happening 365 days a year. Plus, you can play their pick 'em prop games, and you get 5 picks right, you get 20 times your money. Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com, use the promo code TNFF, and you will get a 100% deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. I'm your host, Gymnastic. You can find me on Twitter at GoldJacketQBs. I'm joined, as always, by the other host of the show, the one that you come to listen to for all the fantastic stats, Connor Donald. He can be found on Twitter at Connor10. That's T-E-N, not the 1 and the zeros. We are proud members of the True North Fantasy Football Network. Make sure to check out the entire crew, the entire network on Twitter on True North FFB, YouTube on the TNFF Network, and on the internet, TrueNorthFFB.com. Got a whole bunch of shit over there. Tonight, we're wrapping up a weird week 7. Looking forward to a decent week 8. On paper, this Thursday night football looks like it's going to be a banger. But these two teams, I'm not 100% sure. But first, Connor, what's up?
Not much, man. I'm excited. This is probably on paper one of the best Thursday night games of the year. So this is definitely something to look forward to. And you say a weird week 7, looking forward to week 8, but I mean, let's dive right into it and start with the big news that dropped literally like 2 hours ago. Ja'Marr Chase, the fantasy wide receiver, arguably 1-2, interchangeable. He has a hip injury. He's going to the IR, which means he's missing 4 weeks automatically, although the assumption seems to be 4 to 6 weeks. You would think this would be massive loss, but I think the Bengals are going to be fine. It's just a massive loss for fantasy managers. Great for Tyler Boyd managers, because Tyler Boyd exploded last week, and he is probably due to explode the next 4 to 6 weeks as well with T. Higgins, because him, T. Higgins, and Hayden Hurst are easily each seeing 10-plus targets a game for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Like, they are going to explode. For the people who took Hayden Hurst before, the value exploded, before the explosion happened, and everyone on Twitter suddenly said, hey, Hayden Hurst is part of this high-powered offense. Maybe he might be good this year. You're probably counting your blessings, and you could have a really good sell window by the end of the 4 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, if you really want to move him or somebody's desperate. But I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, from a fantasy perspective, this sucks for Ja'Marr Chase owners.
Yeah, because you took him high, man. Obviously, you never, ever want to see your first round pick go down, especially a top, arguably 3 to 5 pick going, especially in non-super flex leagues.
Like essentially a gimme 20 points a week. Going down hurts.
He's what you wanted in your fantasy team. But again, if you rewind the tapes back when we did the AFC North, and I argued that their wide receiver 3 could be any wide receiver 2 in that fucking division, probably in the league. This is the exact reason for it. You're just going to see a slide over shift. More targets are obviously going to be evenly distributed between the 3, but you're not really going to see a hiccup in the offense, I don't think, from a Cincinnati Bengal performance ways. You're going to see a little bit, obviously, of an uptick in the Tyler Boyd and the T. Higgins weeks. The guy who I think is really going to be benefactoring from this on a solid weekly benefit is going to be Hayden Hurst. I think you can interchange if it's going to be a Boyd boom week or a Higgins boom week, depending on how they're covered respectively. But the guy who I think is going to see the most consistent targets through this, and I could be wrong. I mean, it's not like I've been a fluid swami of information that's been always right, is Hayden Hurst myself. This does suck, though, like you said, Connor, for fantasy managers.
Yeah, I think this also plays well for Joe Mixon. I think Mixon, obviously, maybe they go to the ground a little bit more, maybe some more touches. The guy already ranks like top 5, probably top 3 last I checked for opportunity share. The guy's seeing 85% of the work, rushing work, passing work, running back work on any given night. So obviously any type of uptick there is just more positive for the Joe Mixon manager as well. But obviously, like, I don't think you should be rushing to the waiver wire to grab whoever the wide receiver 4 is on that roster, because I really think, like, if you're okay with 2 to 4 targets a game, okay, but I don't think you're fooling anyone by going and making that grab. The targets are going to those 4 big names that we talked about, and it just hurts for Chase managers. Another big piece of news before we came on the air:
Jesus H. Christopher.
Jim's Kansas City Chiefs have acquired wide receiver Kadarius Toney, who we have seen almost nothing of this year because he's been banged up in the Giants and was kind of in Brian Dable's doghouse through the preseason and the first 2 weeks. But
He was a Gettleman pick, like Schultz pointed out earlier in the thing, right? He's a Gettleman pick, so no tie to this regime.
The Gettleman picks and the Gettleman contracts are pretty much, if you were tied to him, you're probably on your way out if you're not already gone. James Bradbury's an example, Blake Martinez, Kadarius Toney. They're cleaning house of Gettleman, and they're making their own, and they're doing a hell of a job making that roster. So I'm not going to say they're making any wrong decisions, but so I want to get your opinion. You're a Chiefs fan, so we got to get your opinion on Kadarius Toney, another weapon for old Patty Mahomes.
Absolutely. Now, people are going to look to the fact that he hasn't been really available in the NFL so far in his career, but this is essentially, I think, a slam dunk for the Chiefs. This is actually a pretty good trade both ways. The Giants are going to be getting, the conditional 3rd round and the 6th rounder, get out from Kadarius Toney, start a new regime, obviously, as he's not part of that regime. Chiefs get a guy who, in that draft class, they did not have a 1st-round pick, but had a 1st-round grade on Kadarius Toney. They get a former 1st-round pick, still on his rookie deal, with the 5th-year option. I think this is a pretty win thing. Now they got 2. Now, obviously, he's not Tyreek, and I know Mecole Hardman's not Tyreek, and that's 2 players that they've kind of liked with a similar build and skill set. But now Pat Mahomes has got 2 field stretchers. Yes, you got MVS, but he's not really a field stretcher.
He's a field stretcher who drops the
passes.
ball a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when Toney gets healthy, he could be dangerous in an area where we would definitely need him right away, which would be kick and punt returns. I'm sorry, Sky Moore, but like your time is coming to an end. Stop looking at the sky, look at the ball, focus at that, because like you've dropped a lot. That's something where he can excel in right away. He can easily be our team's wide receiver too, which isn't saying much because I still think the offensive weapon is obviously Kelsey. Juju is playing phenomenal, but if you can get a field stretcher that can open up things for those two, maybe get whoever ends up winning the game between CEH and Pacheco going, I think it's going to help immensely as a real football. I don't think you're going to see 1st-round talent from fantasy perspective, if that makes sense. But Andy Reid also has a very good history of working with some troubled people, right? Like he's got that troubled talent label on him for a little bit, but Andy Reid's definitely worked some magic with some similar personas.
Yeah, and I want to point out, while we haven't seen Kadarius Toney a lot, when he's been out there, he's been insanely efficient. You go back to last season, he ranked number 19 in target separation, number 1 in juke rate, which is evaded tackles per rush attempt or per reception. He also ranked, where was that other one? 17th in yards per route run. So he is very efficient once you get the ball in his hands. And I think they've tried, like with Mecole Hardman and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Isaiah Pacheco, they've tried to get creative. I think this takes their creativity to a whole nother level. This is a guy who you can give the ball in a minus yardage situation or in a handoff, and he will give you plus 10, plus 20, plus 30 yards with ease.
What I'm really liking too about this Chiefs offense is you're kind of seeing it evolve from where it was just literally a Kelsey and Hill. Well, first off, it was just a Kelsey offense, driven and true. Then you saw it switch to a Kelsey Hill offense. Now, obviously, Kelsey is a superstar. Now, behind him, do I think Juju Smith-Schuster or Kadarius Toney or Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Marquez Valdez-Scantling are a true number one on any team or a true superstar? No. But I do see a very Zord-like formation with them where they all play their pieces and they can form a nice Megazord monster there, you know, where Tony's a leg and Clyde Edwards-Helaire's a leg and Valdez-Scantling's like, I don't know, a lung or something, because he does definitely not an arm because he has no hands.
And I feel like they all do very unique things. Like Juju works the middle of the field. Kelsey works the middle of the field and stretches the field. MVS stretches the field, which is, while he drops a lot of balls, it is a bonus point to know that you have to watch over top because he could.
You don't, though. That's the problem. You don't. You did think so, but if you drop 2-3 passes, like eventually you're going to let him try. You know what I mean? Go ahead and try to beat. You're not going to be. You're going to get sloppy with him. At least with Tony, who's you've seen make catches. He's a yak monster at Florida. This kid can lose you in a phone booth, as the old dogs used to say. It's going to be very creative, man. Like we're going to see Bieniemy and Reed at their finest. Now they got, like you said, unique tools to do this. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, and nice. you talk about yards after the catch. Kadarius Toney ranked 40th last season, which you would think, oh, that's not that good, but he missed 6 games. Imagine if you add those 6 games in, and the usage didn't really get going until with 3 or 4 weeks into the season when we saw a couple of those big Kadarius Toney games. So if you start using him right away and giving him that advantage right away, I think he can be very efficient. Now, as I shared with you guys in a group chat right before I came on the air, the value might be getting a little out of control.
Holy shit.
Instantly, because in one league that I'm in, some guy dealt Michael Gallup and David Montgomery 2-for-1 Kadarius Toney.
2 sinking ships.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I see where this is going. Anyways, I have Kadarius Toney. I'm suddenly feeling a little bit better about moving him if that's where this is going. But we do know, like you did point it out, the ball gets distributed quite evenly in Kansas City, and the only one you can trust to start every single week without a doubt has been Travis Kelce. Otherwise,
funny how that is. I remember a podcast that said he was still the number 1 tight end. I just can't remember which one it was.
So I don't know for sure. I have Juju in a lot of leagues, and he's painful to deal with. I have Mecole in a few leagues. He's painful to deal with because it's very hard to know when they're going to explode. Or
Last
when
week
he
did.
the games.
Jesus, he was on my bench.
He was on my bench.
Cost me a fucking game. Amon-Ra went out. Mecole went off. We were fucking Jesus. I didn't get a goddamn win.
Now let's roll through some of this other news before we get to the players to buy and sell. Breece Hall, torn ACL. This sucks for fantasy managers big time. If you tuned into our AFC East show, we said we think that obviously we don't wish injuries upon anyone, but we said keep Michael Carter around. Michael Carter's the value in that backfield. He's showing he was starting to lose some touches to Breece Hall to the tune of like a 65-35 split, but he's still efficient when he's given the ball and stuff. And he's still more of a flex play than a lot of other people you could be putting in your flex position. Now, bonus points. Now, Michael Carter may kind of get an advantage, but James Robinson's in town.
They're very similar backs. You know what I mean? Like Robinson and Carter to me are, I don't know, very similar the way they were using that offense. But like, I don't know. Do you see Carter being the ETN light?
I could see that. I just think he could get. I feel like this could be a very efficient, like 50-50 backfield and good for fantasy too. Because they've ran the ball a lot. They seem to really like running the football, which is fine. It keeps the defense off the field. It keeps Zach Wilson from throwing the ball a whole lot, because if Zach Wilson's throwing the ball a lot, he's bound to make a few mistakes. So they've been able to lean.
That's why they're running more.
Exactly. So they lean on Brees. They leaned on Brees Hall. I think you can lean on James Robinson. I think you can lean on Michael Carter. 15 touches a game for James Robinson and, 10 to 12 touches a game for Michael Carter. I can see it. It's definitely in the, especially when you consider Michael Carter would get the passing down. So Michael Carter would get, half his touches would be
shit.
half of his touches would be receptions, not carries. So, yeah, I mean, this sucks for Brees Hall managers. Again, sucks for those managers. But bonus points to people, Michael Carter, and bonus points who held out the James Robinson nightmare that it has been. He
started high.
He started nice. He came back early from the injury. He was going high. He was riding high. Everyone was like, there he is. He's taking over the backfield. Screw ETN. And then boom, hits the wall and everything started like this immediately. And then obviously, he was banged up last week, which was partially to blame for the reason he didn't play a lot, but he didn't play at all, which was super concerning. And then the deal went down with the Jets. So it all comes full circle and makes a lot more sense now. But James Robinson is a free agent next year, so you may not have to necessarily rush to sell him. But if he explodes in New York, I mean, it's been a roller coaster with him. Maybe it's time to jump off. Mike Williams, high ankle sprain. Keenan Allen, he's back, but Keenan Allen, obviously, he had hamstring issues. He's struggled with injuries, hasn't seen the football field a whole lot this year. If you're a Gerald Everett manager, congratulations. This just keeps getting better. When one guy goes down, when one guy comes back, another good one goes down.
Podcast, real quick. Is that another win?
I feel like it's a win for us because we're the punt the tight end podcast. So we are the ones who are going to dig up that value at the tight end position and find you that value at the tight end position. We talked Gerald Everett. Oh boy, Jim, I think we started talking about Gerald Everett back when he signed as a free agent with the LA Chargers. And then we just continued to tote him as the season went on, as make sure you draft this guy. If you're going to punt tight end, look at Gerald Everett. He's landing outside the top 12. I bet you he's going to be a top 12 tight end, top 5 even potential. And he's definitely showing it. Again, we don't wish injuries upon anybody, but this is a Mike Williams who earlier in his career was banged up, got a bit healthier. Now he's banged up again. Keenan Allen's been banged up really bad over the last 3 seasons.
That was a gross ankle roll, dude. Did you see that? Like that was so gross.
It was brutal. And a lot of players took to Twitter to say people don't know how to tackle anymore. I mean,
that was not. What do you mean? He came down. He came down. Fuck.
It happens. It happens.
He landed, his ankle rolled, and Buddy landed on top of him. Like,
the game moves too fast to necessarily always blame a perfect tackle technique on an injury because it's just not going to happen. But yeah, this is great for Gerald Everett. This is great for Josh Palmer, although Josh Palmer he's seeing a bit of an uptick, but I feel like it's Keenan Allen, it's Gerald Everett, it's Austin Eckler. Like, I get that people want Palmer to boom. I just don't think he's going to get the boom like the Mike Williams boom or the Keenan Allen boom or the Eckler boom. Like, I just don't think you're going to see like the 30, 35 point game from him, but he could be a safe flex play going forward. Definitely.
Eckler. Anyway, let's keep going.
Last one I want to hit on. Matt Ryan heading to the bench for Sam Ehlinger. It's tough to say the true reason behind this. There's partial blame on the injury, but then the coach came out and said, injured or not, Matt Ryan was not playing this week and is not going to play for the rest of the year. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt because this Colts offense has not looked very good. This Colts team has not looked very good. So take it with a grain of salt. Matt Ryan could very much be back in the fold here very quickly.
They're garbage.
But, I mean, at this point, I don't think things could get any worse. Like, I'm not knocking anyone's value down because Sam Ehlinger's in, because look at Matt Ryan. It was terrible. I don't think I'd knock Pierce or Pittman or Campbell or Jonathan Taylor or Nyheim Hines down any notches. I think they're fine. I mean, Pittman maybe knock him down a bit because it seems like some targets are starting to go away from him, but
What are
We
you
don't
talking
know.
about?
We
We'll
don't
talk
know where
about that.
Sam Ellinger's gonna. We don't know where Sam Ellinger's gonna go. So that's
I
why
think
I
we
don't
do.
want to like rush to conclusions on it. But I mean, what are your thoughts?
I think you nailed it, really. I mean, fuck. Congratulations if you held on to Sam Allinger on a taxi squad for a couple years in the Superflex League, just hoping. Take your third.
Probably
Um,
not.
um, I don't know. Like you said, it can't be worse. The kid has a bullet. I'm not sure how tight the spiral is, but a bullet, I hear. A gunslinger quarterback.
But look at
Sam
Matt.
Gunslinger.
I
Yeah, I
mean,
know. He's shit. I know.
but look at
Absolute
Matt
shit.
Ryan. Like, look at the
Matt Ryan was never a
stats,
fit there,
though.
though. How was
I
Matt?
don't think it was. It was like a very minimal upgrade from Carson Wentz. Like you're going from extreme, like a pretty inaccurate guy in Carson Wentz to a slightly more accurate Matt Ryan. Like it was just a shift in accuracy.
Yeah, but a yo-yo.
And Matt Ryan has no mobility where Carson Wentz had mobility to extend plays. But like when you look at Matt Ryan this year, interceptable passes, he ranks number 2. Danger plays, he ranks number 2. Pressured throws, he ranks number 3. They pass the ball a ton. Their pass plays per game is number 2 in the league. So as long as that pass plays per game sticks, why would you have to worry about any of the weapons around him except the tight ends? I mean, I think it's time to give up on the Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Coxes of the world. I just don't think that if you punted tight end and went with the indie mold, I think you might be regretting that decision because it seems like the wide receivers are getting the love there. But I mean, it can't get any worse, can it?
No.
It's my thoughts. Just when the rapport is being built between Matt Ryan and Paris Campbell, and Campbell owners think they can breathe, a new quarterback's coming into the fold. So who knows what'll happen there? But Paris Campbell is already dirt cheap. So that's all. Are you ready to move into but how about quickly? I want to get your take on this. I wrote it down. We're 20 minutes in. Are you worried about these quarterbacks and their fantasy assets? Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Who are you most worried about?
Probably Tom Brady. We just heard the sassy remark, Aaron Rodgers. He's going to Buffalo. Said he's going to get his ass kicked. What else do you expect? Blah 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 blah. When he starts pulling that shit, usually watch out. I'm not. Yeah, I mean, I'm more concerned about Tom Brady. To be honest, it's looking like.
And Tom Brady has
Father
a lot
Time
more fantasy
undefeated.
assets that you invested kind of high in.
Yeah,
if you're a
the only one you
manager,
didn't is like Lenny.
Yeah, and even Lenny was going like in the top 20 of running backs.
Yeah, but I just mean like he wasn't smashing in your top 7. You know what I mean? Like he wasn't.
But like,
not like Godwin,
Mike Evans, Chris
fucking
Godwin. Like, yeah, you definitely paid for them. And whereas on the flip side with Aaron Rodgers, you probably invested in Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. AJ Dillon, probably a pretty poor investment now, but Aaron Jones would have been a really smart investment.
Insane that backup running back that I drafted is still a backup running back. Insane, and giving you back
behind an RB1 that we talked about a lot as being really efficient.
Hey, there's another win for the GJP.
I just don't understand why you think that a guy would lose a job when he's been as efficient as he's been. If you started to see a major fall off in the first 4 to 6 weeks, okay. Yes, Quadzilla. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, they got to get him some help at receiver, man. That is just brutal. Chase
I'm
Claypool
going to that
to
game
Green
this
Bay.
week, and I'm hoping to see. I'll tell you what I report back when I see live in Buffalo. I'm going to go see Aaron Rodgers and up close Quadzilla. I'll try to see if I can get a measurement on those quads there. See if Dilla lets me close.
Time to buy and sell, my friend.
All right.
I'm gonna start with the player to buy, Chase Claypool. I just kind of mentioned him with Aaron Rodgers and Green Bay sniffing around. It looks like the emergence of George Pickens has made Chase Claypool expendable, and we're only a couple years removed from where I think he had back-to-back 600-yard seasons, 600-plus yard seasons. I think it was even 800 yards. So this is a good wide receiver. This is a guy you can definitely trust. I think there's an opportunity to get in while people might be a little frustrated, but it's going to get expensive the minute he's moved. The minute he's on a new team, he's Kadarius Toney-esque price increase. Yeah, so he's come up back-to-back 100-plus target, 800-plus yard seasons, playing a 23rd ranked snap share, but seeing a 75th ranked target rate and a 48th ranked target share. He's also ranked top 20 in unrealized air yards all 3 seasons in the NFL. This man, he's a deep ball waiting to happen, and the quarterback just has to throw it. And unfortunately, Kenny Pickett doesn't throw it, Mitch Trubisky doesn't throw it, and Ben Roethlisberger was not throwing it. So unrealized air yards were a major thing.
Aaron Rodgers likes to throw it fucking deep if somebody will catch it. He gets kind of frustrated when you drop it.
I think Chase Claypool might be a guy who might catch a few balls there if you give him the chance.
Definitely catch more than Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
So teams are definitely looking for an alpha when trading for him, a guy who can be a wide receiver 1 or 2. So his fantasy relevancy will come back around if he gets moved, but you got to get in on the ground floor before the deal happens. And the trade deadline is this Tuesday. So definitely want to make sure you get in before like this weekend, start looking, trying to throw some offers out there and land Chase Claypool. What about you, Jim? Who do you got as a player to buy? I notice it's a wide receiver also on the trade block.
Yeah, actually, for similar reasons to Chase, my wide receiver to buy is actually Jerry Jeudy. Whispered amongst trade talks. Denver, let's face it, only thing that Russ has been cooking is toast. But that doesn't mean Jerry Jeudy isn't seeing the targets, albeit not the conversions. But on a solid 8, 7, and 11 last part in the last 3-week target performances with abysmal 3 catches and 2 of them, still nice to see that this is a college kid that, one, came into the NFL ready dominant against, crisp roots, crazy legs, and had a nice target share. So the fact of the matter is he's still getting a good target share if he's staying in Denver and not producing immense scores, or he's getting dealt to a team like, Green Bay. Obviously not the Chiefs. There is never a chance of that going in division. That would just be stupid. But you know what I mean? Like there's teams that have been sniffing around, and like you said with Chase Claypool, as soon as he gets dealt, that price is going to go up through the roof. If you saw Tony get dealt for Gallup and Monty, what do you think Jerry Jeudy, who's actually produced, and you know what I mean? What is he, like 23 and a half?
Yeah,
on his
young.
3rd NFL season. The kid's a fucking youngin. The same reason why we like DJ Moore, why we like Chase Claypool, why we like all these guys is they're young, right? Like, anyway.
And bonus points, you get the 5th-year option on them. So you definitely teams will love that, the opportunity to get that 5th-year option. Players to sell. I got Raheem Mostert, running back in Miami. 30 years old, and he's seeing massive volume right now. He's 16th ranked in opportunity share. He currently owns a 60.7% workload in that Miami Dolphins offense. He has been stuffed at a 21% rate with 15 stuffed runs, which ranks 14th among running backs. Plus, he's averaging a breakaway run per game, which is 15 yards or more. So you get a bulk of the work on one big 15-yard run or 15-plus yard run. His red zone touches rank 40th. His touchdown rate is 1.3%. While we would say red touchdowns are a sticky stat and we're not necessarily worried about it, as a running back, if you're not getting the red zone touches and you're not getting the touchdown touches, that is definitely a major red flag and something you want to get away from. He's seeing the volume, yes, 14 plus carries, 2 plus targets in 4 straight weeks, and he's running routes. He's running routes at a 10th ranked among running backs rate, but he isn't getting the high value touches. He isn't producing. He's at best, he's a flex option for you until he starts to get touchdowns. But if somebody wants to buy that he's getting the bulk of that a 30-year-old bell cow in a Miami Dolphins offense is the workload to buy into, it's definitely the time to sell and get out while you can. If you can get a 2nd-round pick for Raheem Mostert, I'd do it. If you can get a couple of 3rds, my goodness, I would do it. Because Miami will certainly be addressing the running back room in this offseason, I think. Edmonds has not been good. Mostert has emerged, but he's not someone you can necessarily trust. And then there's nobody else behind that has any chance really at getting this job. So sell Raheem Mostert while you can. Chase Edmonds owners, you probably should have sold in the offseason when the signing happened and everybody thought he was the RB1 because he's not doing very well. What do you got, Jim?
Sorry, buddy. I'm just double checking to make sure I got no inactives or anybody going in an hour. Sorry about that. But my player to sell, we touched on him earlier. Listen, we love him. He's a gold jacket hero. It's Paris Campbell. And like we said, if you go back on the tape, if a gold jacket, we said he could be a nice, cheap price piece that pays off on your team. And look, it has. For the past 2 weeks, in 2 hot division games, he's coming off back-to-back touchdowns, back-to-back double-digit targets. But you know what he didn't do, Connor? He didn't crack 100 yards. That's a little bit concerning. Now, great selling points are snap share has steadily increased in the past 3 weeks. JT being a little bit banged up had a little bit to help. No reason to see that his share hadn't been able to stay on the rise. But now, as we touched on, our new QB with Sam, no telling where he's actually going to go with this ball. If you can end up having somebody be sniffing around, I don't think that at the cost of acquisition that you got him at in pre-draft or off season, now the value that you're getting back is too good to turn away. He's won you 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks. Great. Take those 2 W's and now take that second or third round pick or our player that they think is a lateral value. Me and you would think that he's going up. Well, we see Paris Campbell now going down. That's my sell. We still love him though.
We still love him 100%. We like to see him healthy and we like to see him succeed. So we won't complain there. Gold or fool's gold time to leave week 7 in the rearview mirror and look ahead to week 8, which begins in 1 hour. Gold for me, I have at the quarterback position, I had Jameis Winston or Andy Dalton, which it looks like it's going to be Andy Dalton again this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. Andy Dalton finished as the QB2 last week after a matchup with Arizona, who ranked 7th worst against fantasy quarterbacks. New Orleans gets the worst team against fantasy quarterbacks this week in the Las Vegas Raiders. They've allowed all 6 quarterbacks this season that they faced to score 20-plus points, including the likes of Ryan Tannehill, Russ the Burnt Toast Cooker Wilson, and Davis Mills in the Houston Texans. They have allowed multiple passing touchdowns in 3 straight games and 4 of 6, and they've allowed 250-plus passing yards to 5 of 6 quarterbacks. It looks like Andy Dalton may have a chance to pay dividends again for you this week and give you a top 12, I would argue, maybe even top 6 performance against the Las Vegas Raiders. Fool's gold, I got Trevor Lawrence against the Denver Broncos. Trevor Lawrence has been up and down. He's had 4 games over 18 points, and then he's had 3 games below 15 points. He has 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions over the last 3 games, which is not great. The Broncos have only allowed 1 quarterback to go over 18 points this season, and that was Geno Smith all the way back in week 1. Since then, no QB has managed to get over 15 points, and they have not allowed a passing touchdown in 4 straight games. Only 1 team has managed to even get over 20 points against this Denver defense this season. So the Denver defense is helping to keep the Denver offense afloat and alive, but the Denver offense can't even get the points to win games, which is very disappointing. But the Denver Broncos defense is a real deal. It is legit, and they are shutting down quarterbacks. So you should probably sit Trevor Lawrence this week. Jim, who do you got?
Sorry, buddy. I have Daniel Jones. Sorry, had to remember what I had. Sorry. Again, checking my leagues. But what do we all covet in fantasy football quarterbacks? Rushing upside. And would you believe that Daniel Jones is 3rd in rushing yards per game at 49.2 more than Jalen Hurts, and 9th in fantasy points per game, 17.3, 0.5 behind Justin Herbert's. Those stats are actually thanks to Fantasy Sports' Graham Barfield. But after seeing these two things, I had to dig a little bit deeper. Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields are respectively number 1 and number 2 in rushing yards per game. The downside with Daniel Jones is he isn't putting up weekly 20-plus point games, but the fact remains that the Giants are winning and DJ is doing enough and giving you enough top 10 in terms of fantasy points per game at 17-plus points. 9th, just behind Justin Herbert, who we all love. This week, he gets Seattle, who, while middle of the pack, should provide a good matchup on both sides of the ball in terms of QB fantasy play. I'm looking for another banging performance from Daniel Jones. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up sneaking into the top 5. Shit, starting less than an hour.
George Cook. Do I start Higgins, Brown, and Evans? Or so I bench Evans for Dameon Pierce? I'm guessing this is Brown being AJ Brown. Is that safe? Is that a safe assumption potentially?
Yeah, I would think so. Who are you?
I would think so. I don't even know.
I am concerned with Tom Brady and his weapons.
Dameon Pierce, yeah,
but I do not like Houston going up against a division rival, Tennessee.
But Dameon Pierce has been an animal.
He has been
I feel, and he's getting the touches. Like I feel like he's almost
45.
It looks like he's giving you what you want, like a safe, even at this point, a safe floor play. Look at him over the last 4 weeks. RB9, RB5, RB11, RB18, and he scored over 15 points in the last 4 straight weeks. Like I feel like you can't go wrong with putting Dameon Pierce in, whereas with Mike Evans, yeah, he's had some really good games. And I feel like this could be a really good game for Mike Evans because for the receiving weapons of Tom Brady, because the Baltimore Ravens suck against fantasy wide receivers. There. Yeah, George, you got it right there. The Ravens secondary is trash. And Evans definitely could blow up, but I think Pierce is going to blow up too. Like, I feel like any of these 4 guys, when you look next week at how they all finish, I feel like they're all going to end up with over 15, 20 points. And any of these picks could be the one. I think I'd take Dameon Pierce, though, just because, like you, Jim, I'm having issues trusting Tom Brady and that offense.
To be honest, I think the play what I would do is go Evans in my wide receiver spot with AJ Brown and throw Pierce in my flex.
But wondering, yeah, like, was originally going to bench Higgins, but yeah, you definitely cannot bench Higgins now.
See, that plays like a trap play to me, but that's just
it does because T. Higgins. How many weeks straight have we gone with an update that T. Higgins is in the blue tent or T. Higgins is off the field?
Just seems like a real play. Like, what are your other running backs?
Well, George types. Jim, would you like to finish your fool's gold?
Do I? No. I don't, because I don't have a fool's gold. I was looking at it. I think that really you hit it on the head with Trevor Lawrence. If I absolutely had to pick another one, it would be Justin Fields playing Dallas. Coming off performances where past 3 weeks you find him as the QB, I think 4 with Justin Fields. Dallas is coming off so far a stretch where they've only allowed 1 QB1 performance, and that was Jalen Hurts at QB 12. Next closest with Burrow at 15.
And Dallas pressures the hell out of quarterbacks, and Justin Fields induces pressures himself. So imagine he's going to be running for his life all day.
Like I said, I'm not saying that Fields isn't with the young talent of a Hurts and a Burrow, if you want to argue it, but the best that I'm thinking that you're going to be looking at is a low-end QB1 as your ceiling this week. There's other high-end upsides, I feel like, than Justin Fields. But I love your Trevor Lawrence. I love your Trevor Lawrence as a fool's gold. That's the number one. But Barkley and Walker.
George, yeah, you can't go against Barkley and Walker. You're pretty. Those are definitely surefire. And yes, you're choosing between studs, so you're definitely not in a bad position whatsoever. So basically, I'm guessing this is a start.
I'm benching Higgins myself. I'm benching Higgins. I'm throwing Evans in the wide receiver spot. Sunday, I'll argue between my AJ Brown and Higgins, but I'm probably in AJ, and then I'm going to be throwing Damian Pierce in the flex. Who plays the last game? Who plays the last game on that out of those three? It's the Bengals, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look. God damn, that's that would be a look at the schedule to figure that out.
But anyway, that would be how I'd be leaning. I'd be throwing Evans in my wide because again, you don't throw fucking flex players Thursday night flex plays.
No, definitely no Thursday night flex plays. I would. Yeah, I think it's either way. Like flip a coin between Higgins or Evans, but I don't think you can pull Damian Pierce. I think you have to have Damian Pierce in that flex spot.
I know it makes it appealing, but as we argued earlier, like it's not just going to be funneled one person exclusively. You're going to see it spread out, and I argued you're going to see boom and bust weeks between Higgins and Boyd, and which one you're going to find out. The most consistent guy, I think, is going to be Hurst, but that's me. Like and I love T Higgins, man. I love T Higgins. Just I think I'd be rolling, and as Connor wants to argue with the consistency. When it comes to consistency, like again, maybe not this year with Mike Evans, but he's given me enough years of consistency to give him a trust. But that's just me.
Yeah, George. So you're not high on AJ Brown at all, but he's top 10 definitely. There's a lot of maps to feed in Philadelphia, but if one thing is true, that Eagles offense hums and runs its best when AJ Brown is targeted like 10 times. So
you can hum and haw on Sunday who you want to flip between Higgins and AJ. But right now on the Thursday nighter, I'd be throwing in Evans in my wide receiver spot and Pierce in my flex. And then if you want to stack Burrow and Higgins, I get it. I personally feel that's a trap play this week. And I'd be going with AJ Brown, but I do understand and I see all the arguments for it, and I couldn't argue realistically against any one of them thinking that they're wrong.
Running back, gold. This is going to be so ironic. I have Raheem Mostert as my goal because he's going up. He's going up against. Let me go through the reasoning. He's going up against the Detroit Lions. So he has played 44 plus offensive snaps in 4 straight games. He's taken a complete stranglehold of the Miami backfield job, essentially a 70-30 split. Over those last 4 weeks, that's enough to be the RB15. He's currently averaging 14 points per game. He is almost a fringe RB1 in the last 4 weeks. He's also dominating the touches, 15 plus touches over that time, and no other running back has eclipsed 7 touches. The Lions have allowed at least 13 points to all teams' lead running back. They have allowed 75 plus yards to a team's lead back in 5 of 6 games and multiple touchdowns on the ground in 4 of 6 games. This could be the game Raheem Mostert actually gets into that end zone, gives you a couple touchdowns, and gives you a damn wide open, blown open window to get rid of him. This is the gold play standard here where you play him, take advantage of him, sell him right after. This is one of the best matchups he's going to have probably for the rest of the year. Fool's gold. How ironic. I got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, both of them in this one against Buffalo. This game has the makings of being an aerial assault. Buffalo has scored 24 plus points in 5 of 6 games this year, including 30 plus in 3 of 6 games. They haven't allowed a running back to rush for over 50 yards this season, which has helped them to allow 317 total rushing yards on the ground, which is the best in the NFL. The second lowest, 489 yards. The only 2 running backs to score 15 plus had to get 2 touchdowns each in the game to make that happen. The Bills defense hasn't allowed a running back touchdown in 2 weeks now. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have to test his arm if he's going to compete with Josh Allen. He may just get his ass handed to him. So I don't know if I'd be playing Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon with any sort of confidence this week against Buffalo Bills. What do you got, Jim? Oh.
One
You
second.
got. Okay, you have a second. I'm gonna roll into the wide receivers. Gold for me this week is somebody who has been extremely frustrating to play, but I think he's starting to take the turn with PJ Walker. That is DJ Moore up against the Atlanta Falcons. Christian McCaffrey is out of the picture, and it looks like maybe that is what it took to get DJ Moore more and more looks, more and more touches, more and more opportunity. PJ Walker's at QB, and now Moore seems poised to explode. Moore saw 10 targets on 22 routes run last week against Tampa Bay, ending with a 769 and 1 stat line, giving him his first top 24 performance of the season. The Falcons are the worst team against fantasy wide receivers, giving up over 45 points per game. They've allowed multiple wide receiver touchdowns in 4 of 7 weeks, and any wide receiver targeted 10 times. That is 6 wide receivers so far this season against Atlanta. They've seen that many targets. Has eclipsed 15 points. In 5 of 7 games this year, they've allowed 2 wide receivers to score 15 plus points. So this is a pretty safe play because DJ Moore is probably the only wide receiver worth having in against Atlanta at all, while 2 wide receivers have been capable of scoring 15 plus points in 5 of 6 games against Atlanta. I would definitely feel very comfortable that DJ Moore could be a guy who goes off and scores 30 or 40 this week against that defense. Jim, did you have anything to add on the running back side of things before I move to my fool's gold wide receiver?
I got a gold running back. If you really wanted to touch on him real quick, it's Derrick Henry with the Tennessee Titans versus that other side of the coin, Houston Texans with a Dameon Pierce offense. Derrick Henry absolutely eats against the Houston Texans. 10 games, he's over 1,000 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, over 100 yards per game, 9 rushing touchdowns, and ironically, no rushing or receiving touchdowns, but this guy crushes them. So you're pretty much good for 100 yards and a tutter when he plays Houston, if not more. So anyway, that's my gold. Sorry about that, Connor, that I got pulled away from there with a family emergency.
It's all
that
good.
I heard something going on. Always hear it.
Fool's gold wide receiver for me, I got Terry McLaurin against the Indianapolis Colts. McLaurin managers rejoice. He had his first wide receiver 1 showing of the season last week. He has surpassed 12 points in 5 of 7 games, but has only made the top 36 wide receivers 4 times, 2 times in the top 24. Disappointing for the capital that was invested in him since he largely went with a top 20 ADP among wide receivers. The Colts secondary has been strong against wide receivers, allowing 2 wide receivers to eclipse 15 points this season. This happened in week 1 and 2. They've only allowed 2 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks to wide receivers, and only 3 wide receivers have managed 75 yards or more. I don't think this is going to be a good game for Terry McLaurin. I don't think this is going to be a good game for the pass and attack of the Washington Commanders, and their offense just continues to struggle. Jim, you got anything to add on the wide receiver front? Oh.
If I was going to go with a gold wide receiver combo, sorry about that. It would have to be, if you want to go pick your poison, me and Stephon Diggs. I can understand if you want to go Gabe Davis. High-powered offense, Buffalo, Sunday night versus the Packers. Davis coming off of back-to-back double-digit targets. He's already got, 6 or 7, 8 touchdowns, something like that. I think it's 6, maybe. He's rolling in the touchdown department. He's rolling in the yardage department. This guy's looking sexy. I like him. It's looking good. Pick your poison. Me, it's going to be Gabe Davis or Stephon Diggs over Gabe Davis, but I can see how you would argue either one of them.
I like it.
Don't have a fool's gold for that, buddy. And we are running late because of me.
That's fine. Tight end gold. I got Irv Smith against Arizona this week. Smith has Smith was last the top 12 tight end in week 2. Since then, he's managed 10 points only once, and that happened last week. He has managed 4 targets in each game over the last 6 weeks, including a top 10 among tight ends, 5 red zone targets, which has turned into 2 touchdowns. The Cardinals have allowed 10 plus points to a tight end in 6 of 7 weeks, including 4 that have scored over 15. The Cardinals are one of only 2 teams to allow 20 plus points to the tight end position. And Fool's Gold, it's Dawson Knox for me, and it's more of just because Dawson Knox is just busting this season, which is something that we said in the offseason. He feels like a bust, and there's people now making enough noise about it. Knox per underdog was drafted as a tight end 9. He has yet to have a week where he has managed to be the tight end 9 or better. Tight end 10 is his best showing. He ranks 21st in red zone targets, 25th or worse among tight ends in target rate and share, and is absurdly high. Touchdown rate from 2021 is down to 6% this year. With his first touchdown last week, he's averaging 3 receptions and 29 yards per game.
Yeah, crazy. That's another one for the GJP. Insane. I don't really we got too many deals to roll with here. My boys, Gerald Everett and Travis Kelce, they're on buys. They're my bread and butter. It's the AFC, half the AFC West on buy, and that's it. I guess with the Jamar Chase news, and I've been saying that he's going to be the guy that's going to be the benefactor. I guess it would have to be Hayden Hurst. Would be the guy that I would throw up for my gold there. Fool's Gold. I love Dawson Knox. Why couldn't you not like him? The guy is super touchdown dependent. And while I believe this is going to be a pretty good game, especially since I'm going to be there live, with my gold being in the wide receiver column, I don't think that's going to be much desire in the touchdown department for the tight ends. So I'd piggyback off you on that one.
I like it. So that is it. Thank you for listening and watching. Make sure you rate, review, like, subscribe wherever you listen or watch. Follow Jim at Gold Jacket QBs on Twitter and myself at Connor10TEN. Not the number. Check out the whole True North Fantasy Football crew right above Jim's head. And for now, we move into week 8. And next week, we look towards week 9 and react to week 8. We will see you next Tuesday.
Hope there's...
This is a beginning point. This is the beginning of the rest of my life.